You're listening to a story on Lyra Audio Tales, wishing you all don't end up single like the shop owner. My mother remarried a billionaire worth trillions. On the day I came to acknowledge her, she mistook me for a kept woman, the canary her son was secretly supporting outside. She tossed me a black card with an air of condescension. "There's 1 million on it. Stay away from my son." I stared at her in panic. "No, Mom, that's not it." Her pupils tightened. She looked me up and down. "Calling me Mom already? Looks like you're quite a skilled operator." Right after that, another black card was thrown at me. Another 2 million. Disappear from my sight immediately. I stood there in a daze, picked up the 2 cards from the floor, and was about to return them to her. But she lifted her newly manicured diamond-studded nails, her large eyes with long, curled lashes glaring at me. "What? Still not enough?" Then she turned away leisurely and called into the villa. "Smith, tell my husband to transfer another 5 million to me. Say I've run into a tough one this time." The maid beside her reminded her cautiously. "Madam, you usually only give 50,000. Isn't this a bit much?" My mother immediately assumed the authority of the mistress of the house. She straightened her waist in her limited edition Chanel outfit and shot the maid a sideways glance. "What do you know? This girl is so pretty, and her mouth is sweet too. What's wrong with giving a little more?" The maid said nothing more. That night, my mother secretly contacted me. "Good girl, it's not that I don't want to acknowledge you. Doing it this way is simply more cost-effective. You have no idea how stingy the Brown family is when it comes to raising children. They keep them poor on purpose. Even Wilson Brown, my so-called stepson, only gets 1,000 a month for expenses, which is less than what the household staff earn. And men. Honestly, they're all philandering radishes. You can't rely on them. Once I've made enough money, I'll divorce Mr. Brown. Then the two of us will buy a huge apartment, hire a few male attendants, and live our own little life." Her voice on the other end of the line was bubbling with excitement. I nodded vigorously. "Mom, I understand your hardship. When the time comes, choose the male attendants according to your taste. They should be tall, long-legged, well-built, preferably with 8-pack abs. Most importantly, they need sweet mouths, be good at their jobs, and have absolutely no sense of self-respect." My mother was deeply moved, choking up on the phone. "You're still the most reliable daughter." In truth, my mother and Mr. Brown were a classic case of love at first sight. They met in a scene straight out of a drama, a luxury car splashing filthy water all over a beautiful woman. My mother was soaked like a drowned rat. Furious, she banged on the car window, determined to make the other party pay dearly. But when the window slowly rolled down, both of them froze. At the same moment, a thought rose in each of their hearts. How could there be someone so handsome and so beautiful in this world? And just like that, they locked eyes. What's more, one wasn't after money and the other wasn't after looks. A textbook case of pure love. Later, however, my mother discovered that Mr. Brown didn't just love pure relationships. He was also extraordinarily tolerant. He alone had 5 different white moonlights, not to mention the red marks or childhood sweethearts. Altogether, there were probably enough people to fill 10 mahjong tables. That was when my mother's love-struck brain finally woke up. Love doesn't put bread on the table. Making money is the real truth. I transferred all the money from the 3 black cards into my personal account and stared at the long string of digits. I was so excited that I started jumping around, an awkward fusion of ballet and hip-hop. The campus heartthrob Wilson Brown, my mother's so-called stepson, looked at me as if I were an idiot. "Olivia Harper, did you get electrocuted or something?" Wilson immediately grabbed me. "Olivia, have I been giving you too much leeway? Yesterday, you were madly in love with me, and today you're suddenly putting on a cold front. Who do you think gave you the nerve to act like this?" I shook off the hand gripping my arm and casually brushed the dust off my clothes. Then I looked at him arrogantly. "Of course it's money that gave me the nerve. I'm a $5 million rich lady now. not someone an ordinary guy like you can casually compare himself to. Wilson let out a cold laugh and looked down at me with arrogance. Don't you know my family is worth trillions? Then take out 20,000 and show me. Wilson, humph. What are you putting on airs for? I said as I walked away, my posture radiating superiority. I have money now. What kind of man couldn't I find? Besides, Wilson is nothing special anyway. He just happens to be a bit good-looking. With slightly perky hips, a slightly broad chest, slightly defined abs, slightly long legs, a slightly strong waist, a slightly impressive size, a slightly cool hairstyle, slightly deep-set eyes, a slightly straight nose, slightly seductive lips, a slightly pleasant voice, a slightly enchanting smile, slightly outstanding grades, and the ability to speak 8 languages. What's so amazing about that? Wilson stared after my retreating figure, grinding his teeth. Just you wait. I'll deal with you. That evening, my mother called me. Sweetheart, did you just have a fight with Wilson? How did you know so quickly? Your intel is impressive. He went off on Mr. Brown today, complaining that his monthly living allowance is only $1,000. He said he was looked down on by his former simp and caused a huge scene demanding a raise. I guessed right away that the former simp was you. Me. Oh? So did he get the raise, Mom? He did. How much? Up to 1,200. And listen, sweetheart. Wilson is our lucky charm. We can't let this source of income get cut off. My mother continued. What do you mean? Make up with Wilson. Then we'll use the old trick again and squeeze more money out of the Browns. I thought for a moment. But I just had a fight with him. Going to make up now would really hurt my dignity. On the other end of the line, my mother fired back sharply. Dignity, what is that worth? Can it buy a limited edition Chanel bag? No. Can it buy the latest Patek Philippe? No. Can it buy custom Cartier jewelry? No. Then why are you holding on to something that cheap and useless? Fair point. Still, I decided to change tactics. Before, I'd willingly been Wilson's simp, completely bewitched by his wallet. Now it was different. Ever since I had money, everyone I looked at seemed like a teddy bear. Especially Wilson, with that bleached blonde hair. He looked even more like one. So I decided to transform myself into a stunning beauty, make him fall head over heels, so that just thinking about me would leave him torn apart inside, unable to break free. That way, when my mother threw money at me, I wouldn't feel a shred of guilt. Ha ha ha. Honestly, I'm just too smart. I hired a professional image consultant and had everything overhauled, from my hair right down to my toenails. A few hours later, a freshly made beauty was born. I looked at myself in the mirror. Big eyes, a tall, refined nose, long, smooth black hair, fair, flawless skin, a slim waist, a delicate, willow-like figure. Good heavens, this was a fairy descending to the mortal world. But before I could finish admiring myself, the dorm door was knocked on violently. Who is it? So rude. I opened the door. Wilson. He was wearing nothing more than a plain t-shirt and looked rather low-key, but the arrogance in his eyes was unmistakable, sweeping the room like a blade. I hurriedly blocked the doorway. This is a women's dorm. What's a grown man like you doing here? Unexpectedly, he frowned and shoved me aside with his elbow. Who's this ugly thing? You think you get to meddle in my business? I was speechless. He glanced around. Where's Olivia Harper? Tell her to get her ass out here. Me. Is there any chance that I am Olivia Harper? He shot me a look full of contempt. Miss, are you kidding me? If you were Olivia, I'd plant a banana tree and eat shit. Yeah, he really said that. Half an hour later. Holy crap, you really are Olivia? Who made you dress up like this? Then are you going to follow through on that eating thing? Seeing his face darken, I immediately changed the subject. Do you think I look good dressed like this? Not bad. I just don't really have the heart to swear at you anymore. Me. Was that a dog barking just now? Right. barging into the women's dorm in broad daylight to find me. What's so urgent? Only then did Wilson remember why he'd come. He struck an extremely cool pose. Considering that you were the most loyal simp among all my simps, I've decided to give you a chance to get close to me. Speak human. Pretend to be my girlfriend and ruin my blind date the day after tomorrow. What? I froze on the spot, eyes wide open. My God, there's actually something this good? I put on an act and cleared my throat twice. So, what's in it for me? Wilson raised 2 fingers in a very aristocratic gesture. I can pay you $400 as compensation. I was just about to roll my eyes when he added, plus a Chanel bag. Deal. At the same time, over on my mother's end. Huh? Why does it feel like one of my bags is missing? I immediately told my mother everything. Turns out the other party was the daughter of one of Mr. Brown's business partners. It was a classic business marriage arrangement, and also the thing Wilson hated the most. He'd sabotaged several of these before. This time, he was probably planning to use the same old trick again. After discussing it for a long while, my mother and I decided to go shopping first and gear up. Good girl, my mother said. I need to dress you up properly. Make you look like a pure, innocent white lotus. Fragile and pitiful in the most endearing way. As for me, I'll transform into a glittering, high society matron. Then I'll look at you with only half an eye and start wildly throwing cards at you. Haha, just thinking about it gets me excited. I looked at my mother with admiration. I'll follow all of Mom's arrangements. That day, my mother and I met at the most upscale shopping mall in the city. She wore a mink coat, a super short skirt, and sunglasses. I wore a simple white dress and white canvas shoes. One of us radiated wealth, the other youth. Our turnback rate was sky high. We went into countless luxury boutiques. My mother was extremely picky. If she didn't complain that one style was ugly, she'd say another was too cheap. But as we were walking, her gaze suddenly froze and she stopped dead in her tracks. I followed her line of sight. Damn it. There was Mr. Brown shopping for jewelry with a busty young woman who looked very much the part. From time to time, they gazed at each other with undisguised affection, as if no one else existed. Mr. Brown even dotingly pinched the tip of her nose. The scene was honestly hard to watch. I looked at my mother nervously. Sure enough, she was furious. Her eyes reddened, she rolled up her sleeves, clenched her fists, ground her teeth, and charged forward. Mom, don't act on impulse. Instead, she stormed straight into the most expensive luxury store. Casually pointing at several bags, she said, this one, and that one too. The sales associate immediately caught on. Madam, would you like to take all of these? My mother replied coldly, except for the ones I just pointed at. I don't want those. Pack up everything else for me. Then she grabbed me and dragged me off to the next stop. It wasn't until we'd spent all $5 million that my mother finally calmed down. The expert was right. Spending money really can eliminate 99% of your worries. I nodded vigorously in agreement. When Wilson texted me, I was strolling down the street, basking in people's astonished looks. Wow, that girl is so pretty. She's like a fairy come down to earth. Exactly. I've never seen a girl this beautiful. She's even prettier than Zendaya. She looks so pure, just like the innocent White Lotus female lead in a novel. But that type of girl is easily targeted by villains. She'll suffer a lot. Now I finally understood why Wilson still had such a strong sense of superiority, even though his monthly allowance was only $1,000. This world really does judge by appearances. People are, in fact, that shallow. I immediately texted Wilson back. What are you rushing me for? Don't you know the main character always shows up last? He replied at once, his tone practically grinding his teeth. Olivia, if you don't drag your ass over here right now, I'm getting hauled off to check in with her. And then don't even think about getting a single cent of that $400. Wow, what a threat. I immediately twisted my slim waist and rushed straight over. Inside the restaurant, Wilson was having his hand tightly held by a burly woman. As for him, he wore an expression like he'd just eaten shit and hadn't had time to rinse his mouth. Seeing the situation, I charged in without hesitation and threw myself straight into Wilson's arms. You heartless jerk. How dare you sneak around behind my back and go on a blind date with someone else? Tears streamed down my face. Then I started pounding his chest hard with my little fists. You're awful. You're awful. You're awful. I even took the opportunity to cop a feel of his chest and abs. Wow. The sensation was amazing. I moaned with pleasure inside, but on the outside I looked utterly aggrieved. How could you treat me like this? Don't you know I love you so much I can't even pull myself out? At that moment, my mother also rushed in. Wearing a 10-carat diamond ring, she trembled as she pointed at me. Well, well, so it's this little vixen again, seducing people. Let me tell you something. You're so adorable, so beautiful, so pitifully endearing. Why do you insist on clinging to my son and refusing to let go? Don't you know he has zero resistance to girls like you? Ignoring Wilson's dumbstruck expression, I continued my performance. Trembling, I nestled into his arms, beautiful yet worn and fragile. But I truly love him. Auntie, why can't you just fulfill our love? My mother lifted her chin, revealing her dazzling diamond necklace. Don't even dream about it. Right after that, she pulled out 5 black cards and threw them all at me. I hate girls like you the most. The kind who look pure and innocent on the outside but are stubborn and scheming inside. I have to humiliate you with money, and I won't hold back. I want you to understand the gap between someone like you and people like us who have money, to make you feel inferior, ashamed, and with nowhere to hide. I hurriedly picked up all the cards and stuffed them into my bag. Tears blurring my eyes, I looked at my mother. Then I turned and gently stroked Wilson's cheek. Wilson, if your family can't accept me, then I'll just leave, okay? I'm small, pitiful, with nowhere to rely on. Don't love me anymore. From today on, let's cut all ties. Heartbroken, I stood up, ready to slip away, only to have Wilson Brown grab my arm tightly. He looked at me, tense. You can't leave. No, let me go. I broke free from his grip and rushed outside, leaving the other woman staring in shock. Wilson chased after me, refusing to let up. Seeing him still following, I looked at him in pain. Wilson, don't come any closer. Let's end this here. The moment I finished speaking, he seized my neck with one hand. Tell me, how many cards did my aunt just give you? We struggled and grappled in the middle of the street. Luckily, my mother arrived in time to stop it. She put on a disappointed look and stared at me. You really are a despicable person with no sense of honor. Didn't you say you wouldn't have anything to do with my son anymore? Then what are the two of you doing now? Wilson froze. What do you mean, nothing to do with me anymore? Tears welling up, I nodded. Yes. Wilson immediately let go of me. There's no need to take it that far. He reached out, trying to rummage through my bag. Give the cards back to her. Whether you want to see me or not is your choice. You don't need to be forced by anyone. I clutched the opening of my bag tightly with one hand and quickly brushed his hand away with the other, continuing to sob. But my heart is truly hurt. I want to go cold with you. With that, while he wasn't paying attention, I took off at full speed, vanishing in an instant, leaving him with a guilt-ridden expression, and my mother wearing a look of extreme satisfaction. That night, I video-called my mother to tally up the spoils. This time, each card had 1 million on it. 5 million total. Add the 3 million from last time and the luxury goods worth another 5 million. That makes $13 million in total. And all of it was charged to the Brown family's corporate account. My mother then counted up her own private funds, almost another 10 million. They were all different transfers Mr. Brown had made to her. Holiday money, birthday gifts, shopping festival allowances. He'd even transfer her money just because she sweetly called him darling. It seemed that aside from being a playboy, Mr. Brown actually treated my mother pretty well. My mother also seemed a little reluctant to part with Mr. Brown. Her voice softened. Good girl. Tell me, when I divorce Mr. Brown, do you think he'll try to hold on to me? I was just about to comfort her when she suddenly came to a realization herself. Never mind. Even if he does try to keep me, I won't turn back. That philandering radish, he's already hurt me enough. So the two of us joined forces and decided to carry out our original plan. We bought a spacious apartment in the most upscale area of New York. My mother moved all her luxury goods into it. Looking at an entire room filled with trophies of war, both of us couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Having money really is bliss. My mother then decided to work on her emotional well-being. She stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of the apartment, gazing down below. I need to take in all the splendor of this world, enjoy pleasure to the fullest, admire all the handsome men, and train myself into a diamond body, invincible and unbreakable. And in the end, I'll give Mr. Brown a hard kick and say, "You cheating bastard, go to hell." While Mr. Brown was away on a business trip, my mother took me to Japan to soak in hot springs, then to Switzerland to see the snow, to the Arctic to watch the aurora, and finally to the beach, to admire handsome men. Those handsome men surrounded the two of us. Some massaged our backs, some kneaded our shoulders, some worked on our legs, some fed us fruit. Another group stood right in front of us, every one of them tall with 8-pack abs, twisting their waists with enthusiasm. Though they came from different countries, they all shared one goal: to make my mother and me happy. The two of us laughed nonstop. Who cares about Mr. Brown or the Browns? Send them all straight to the underworld. Until my mother's phone suddenly rang insistently. What? It turned out her informant had sent news. The woman reported just how lethal this so-called white moonlight was, how ruthless her methods were, and that this time she'd come for the position of Mrs. Brown. At the same time, Wilson Brown kept sending me messages. Olivia, I've seen through your tricks now. Talk. Did you deliberately bring my aunt there that day? Didn't I already agree to pay you $400? You greedy woman. Your family already wants money and still wants more. Where are you? Get back here and face your death. My mother and I looked at each other, helpless. It seemed our situation was becoming extremely dangerous. My mother had to firmly protect her position as the lady of the house, and I had to deal with Wilson properly in case he tried any underhanded tactics against me. That night, we booked first-class seats, enjoyed the best service possible, and the moment we landed, we went our separate ways, each of us charging toward our own battlefield. Sure enough, Wilson was waiting for me at the dorm entrance. He looked murderous. His blonde hair stood on end as he forced me back against the wall. Olivia, if you don't explain yourself clearly today, I'll have someone come collect your body tomorrow. I looked at him pitifully. So you mean you're still letting me live one more night to serve your pleasures, right? Dream on. Under Wilson's threats and inducements, I took out all the cards my mother had given me. 8 cards in total were spread out in front of him, his expression visibly relaxed. You actually dared to take this much money from my family? I never expected it, Olivia. You're incredibly greedy. Following the script my mother had given me, I spoke as tears fell. Wilson, it's not what you think. The only reason I accepted these little sums was so you wouldn't be put in a difficult position. I nodded with tears in my eyes. That's right. On each card, I'd only left $500. The rest had already been transferred out. He immediately lost his composure, pulled out his phone, and called my mother to question her. Why are you treating Olivia differently? Didn't you give the other women $50,000 on each card before? Why did you only give her $500 per card? On the other end of the line, my mother was silent for 3 seconds before speaking. Silly boy. Out of all those girls, Olivia is the only one who's sincere with you. Don't you know? Genuine feelings are the cheapest thing of all. If they're not worth money, why should I give her so much? Wilson looked at me with deep sympathy. No. Whatever others get, she should get the same. You have to be fair. All right, my mother replied. I'll listen to you. I'll make it up to her later. After he hung up, Wilson's ears flushed red, And he looked at me with moist eyes. Idiot, getting cheated and not even realizing it. I thought to myself, is this the legendary foolish landlord's son? Not long after Wilson left, my mother's transfer came through. $2 million in total, freshly secured from Mr. Brown. It seemed she was in quite a good mood. I quickly asked about how things were going on her end. Mr. Brown just came back from a business trip and hugged me tightly. Then, well, I didn't even get the chance to ask. But the busty girl from last time has been explained clearly. Turns out she was his younger aunt. My eyesight failed me. I was so distracted by her huge chest that I forgot to look at her face. To make up for my wounded heart, Mr. Brown transferred me another $1 million. I'll give you half later. My eyes immediately welled up. Mom, that's money you earned with your body. You should keep it for yourself. I still have some left on my cards for now. From that day on, Wilson began pursuing me like a madman. He said he'd loved me for a long time without realizing it, that now his love had seeped into his very bones. He even wrote me countless love letters, folding tens of thousands of paper cranes. Just tricks of poor people. As if I'd care. Inside, I sneered, but on the surface, my face was full of fragile vulnerability. Wilson, am I really only worth this much? Why is it that other people's girlfriends have things that I don't? At the same time, inside my head, I was screaming, where are the bags? Where's the jewelry? Where are the pretty new clothes? You're the one doing the chasing? Don't you have any self-awareness at all? He suddenly fell silent. His face was full of shock. The rims of his ears flushed red almost instantly. His eyes fixed on me, deep and intense. Even his voice softened a little. Baby, do you really want that? Of course. Otherwise it means you don't love me, I said, pretending to sulk. His face grew even redder. Isn't this a bit too fast? I looked at him suspiciously. Fast? What do you mean fast? If you don't want to give it, just say so. In the end, he seemed to steel himself. All right, then. He shot me another shy glance. Puffing out his chest, he stripped off his clothes in one swift motion and lunged toward me. I turned pale with fright. Wilson, you bastard, what do you think you're doing? Don't come any closer. But the moment my hands touched those bulging muscles, his firm chest and taut, powerful lines, my voice immediately dropped. Wilson's voice was hoarse, his eyes hazy. Baby, everything other people's girlfriends have, I'll give you too. Afterward, I lay on the bed with tears streaming down my face. So that was what he meant by, give you everything. Damn this poor, sleazy, infuriating man. So little money, yet so many tricks. After getting a taste of the real world, Wilson wanted it every single day. Every time I sent him flying with a slap. Want what exactly? How could he be so addicted to just that one thing? He would instantly look aggrieved, like a pitiful little puppy. All that cold, aloof aura of his vanished completely. All day long, he did nothing but study how to drag me into bed. I temporarily put away my pure, innocent, pitiful White Lotus act. I transformed into a little stinging bee, glaring at him with my big round eyes. Go learn from the school hunk next door. His girlfriend gets to eat well and dress well every single day. This time, Wilson finally understood. He turned around and immediately went to learn how to cook. In the end, I still had to let my mother step in. She spoke to him in roundabout hints and even gave him additional dating funds. Only then did he finally realize that this was how love worked among rich people. Looking at the pile of handbags, jewelry, and luxury cosmetics Wilson gave me, alongside the plate of egg-fried rice he'd just made, which looked so bad even a dog would throw it up after eating. I immediately reported the situation to my mother. Wilson is actually quite devoted to me. He's done so much for my sake. I'm almost getting moved by him. On the other end of the line, my mother was so frightened her face went pale. My precious daughter, you absolutely must not fall for him. They say like father, like son. Mr. Brown is already that old and still so flirtatious. How could his son be any better? He's probably just temporarily bewitched by your looks. Once the novelty wears off, who knows? Maybe a whole bunch of white moonlights and cinnabar moles will suddenly pop up. I suddenly remembered. Wilson had never outright rejected girls who confessed to him. He would only tell them, "If we're still fated in 2 years, we'll talk then." Yeah, what a sleazy, poor, womanizing jerk. To keep myself from sinking too deeply into Wilson, I gradually started putting some distance between us. Even though I felt a little uncomfortable inside, all it took was opening the card balance, and that sense of unease was instantly cured. The same went for my mother. She used the enormous sums of money being transferred to fill the emotional wounds caused by Mr. Brown's endless scandals. The two of us sighed while counting money. Until one day, Wilson noticed something was off. A chill seeped from his gloomy eyes. "Olivia, are you playing with me? You heartless woman, once you get what you want, you don't cherish it anymore, do you? I work every day until I'm dead tired, like an ox or a dog. And you? You turn around and tell your dorm roommates that I don't strive hard enough. I'm so exhausted my underwear has loosened by a whole size. What more do you want me to strive for, huh?" I hurriedly covered his mouth. Ever since he'd tasted the real thing, this guy dared to spew any outrageous words he pleased. I put on an innocent expression and looked at him. "Baby, it's not what you think. And it's not that your stamina is bad. On the contrary, it's too good. You're like a revved-up male engine every single day. One has to know their limits, you know." He looked at me suspiciously. "Really? You're not mocking me, are you?" How would I dare? I explained for ages before he finally let it go. That day, I was on a video call with my mother. On screen, she was wearing a Graf diamond ring, a Bulgari bracelet, and a Van Cleef and Arpels necklace. Her melancholy was unmistakable at a glance. Clearly, she'd been hurt by love again. Turns out Mr. Brown's so-called white moonlight had started making moves. She invited Mr. Brown out to dinner, and my mother caught them in the act. But Mr. Brown didn't bother to explain anything. That old sugarcane-chewing fool. I hurried to comfort her. "Mom, think about our huge apartment. Think about our Alipay balance. And think about that job posting for male housekeepers we put online. If you get so angry that you hurt your health, you won't be able to enjoy any of that." Thanks to my relentless efforts and vivid descriptions of our future life, my mother's darkened eyes suddenly lit up. She suggested that, for safety's sake, we should withdraw as soon as possible. I agreed. But just then, Wilson suddenly barged in. In his hands was a flirty cosplay outfit he'd bought online. The moment his beautiful phoenix eyes landed on my phone screen, he froze. He pointed at the contact name I'd given my mother. Her Majesty the Empress, unrivaled beauty. His face filled with disbelief. I panicked and immediately decided to explain. "Baby, it's not what you think. She's just a foster mother I recently acknowledged. She felt sorry for me, said I was pitiful. Had no one who cared about me all alone, so she had a sudden surge of compassion and gave me a bit of motherly love." Wilson clearly didn't buy it. "Who are you trying to fool? Since when did my little aunt become that kind-hearted?" "It's true." "Bullshit." With that, he hoisted me onto his shoulder, bundled me up, and dragged me straight back to the Brown house. He was determined to expose our ugly true faces. My mother and I stared at each other, eyes wide. Mr. Brown, meanwhile, looked completely confused, having no idea what was going on. Wilson was so furious his chest heaved violently. He swore that if I didn't explain everything clearly, he would make sure I suffered worse than death. "Mom, this punishment is way too severe." I sneaked a glance at my mother. In just 1 second, she slipped perfectly into the role of a seasoned actress. Tears fell like pearls, big drops one after another, making Mr. Brown ache with pity at the sight. She swung her small fists and pounded hard on Mr. Brown's chest. "This is all your fault. Yours. All of it. You elegant, charming, flirtatious, irresistibly romantic man. You sowed wild oats when you were young, and now the consequences have come knocking at our door." She calls me mom on the surface, but in truth, you're her biological father. Wilson is her real older brother. I was afraid Wilson wouldn't be able to accept it for a while, so I kept this from him. Those breakup compensation cards I gave her were actually the education fund I'd been saving for her. What? Mr. Brown and Wilson froze on the spot. Especially Wilson. His eyes instantly turned bloodshot, filled with the agony of a tragic moral drama. He trembled as he looked at me. So you knew all along. That's why you became so cold toward me, right? I nodded. That's right, big brother. Wilson, after all, we've already done so many things. Stop. Wilson hurriedly cut me off. His eyelashes quivered, his face went blank, his spirits crashing to rock bottom. Don't say any more. As for Mr. Brown, his brain seemed to short-circuit. He stood there for ages, completely unable to figure out what on earth was going on. In the end, my mother stormed out of the house in fury, and I disappeared along with her. In our spacious apartment, the two of us sat by the floor-to-ceiling windows, leisurely sipping red wine. Butler number 1, the puppy type, was preparing a delicious dinner for us. Butler number 2, the gentle type, was playing the violin for our enjoyment. Butler number 3, the muscular type, was energetically mopping the floor with his butt stuck up in the air. Butler number 4, the cute type, stood nearby, cheering the other 3 on. I looked at my mother, feeling a bit uneasy. Mom, weren't we a little too much? Mr. Brown looked completely lost back then. Compared to what he's done, this little lie is nothing, she said, then shifted her gaze back to me. But dragging Wilson into that whole incest mess might have been a bit cruel. What man could take a shock like that? And what about his 2-year promises with those other girls? Some of them are already past the deadline. They're just waiting for him to break up with you so they can jump right in. He deserves to suffer a little. So my mother and I put our minds at ease and continued enjoying life. These 4 male helpers were truly efficient. They worked in the living room and the kitchen alike. Not only did they keep the place spotless, they could even double as bodyguards when we went out. Their only flaw was that they competed fiercely and got jealous of one another far too easily. Butler number 1, the puppy type, tearfully began recounting his tragic family background. His gambling-addicted father, his sick mother, his younger sibling still in school, and himself, a broken man. Butler number 2, the gentle one, refused to be outdone. Actually, I'm an orphan. I grew up without parents. It wasn't until I came here that I finally felt what family warmth is like. Butler number 3, the muscular one, spoke with even more anguish. I was bullied my whole childhood. Everyone picked on me. I was once so hopeless, lost, and weak. It wasn't until I met you two that I was saved. You're the saviors of my life, rescuing a lost lamb like me. Butler number 4, the cute one, blinked his big, innocent eyes at them. You guys aren't allowed to sell misery in front of the ladies. If you make them sad, it breaks my heart. Just as they were busy competing over who was more pitiful, the doorbell suddenly rang. Butler number 1 went to open the door and immediately cried out in alarm. Where did these ugly people come from? I'll have you know, we've already filled all the positions here. Hearing that someone had come to steal their rice bowls, the other 3 rushed over and blocked the doorway tightly. The ladies don't like your type. If you've got any sense, get lost. That's right. Take a good look at yourselves. Old and young mixed together, all of you look unlucky as hell. How could you possibly serve the ladies properly? And besides, our lady doesn't like blonde hair. She says all blondes are womanizers, so you're out. At that moment, Mr. Brown appeared, wearing a white scarf and a fedora. Only background music was missing. My mother and I both gaped in shock. Seeing that the situation had gone south, the 4 butlers bolted without a trace, even thoughtfully grabbing the trash bags by the door on their way out. Truly professional, I thought. Wilson, holding a paternity test report, walked toward me with a face as black as thunderclouds. Mr. Brown, equally grim, advanced toward my mother. Step by step, we retreated. Step by step, they closed in until there was nowhere left to go. Each of them hoisted one of us onto his shoulder and carried us straight back to the Brown house. In Wilson's bedroom, he shoved the test report right in my face. Come on, read the sentence with me. The possibility that William Brown is Olivia Harper's biological father has been excluded. Do you understand what that means? Nothing to say? Wilson stared at me with a sinister smile. Then let me explain it to you. It means you can now choose how you want to die. Do you want to do it yourself, or should I do it for you? He backed me into the corner. I trembled all over. In a fit of anger, I secretly stepped on his foot. When I looked up again, my face was already drenched in tears. Then go ahead and do it. You despicable man plotting to murder your own wife. The deadline you promised those women you secretly admired has arrived, hasn't it? So now I'm in your way, right? Just kill me. You heartless bastard. Sure enough, Wilson frowned. What do you mean? What secret crush are you talking about? So I forwarded him all the provocative messages, sent to me by those girls who had once confessed to him and then received that so-called 2-year promise. I sent every single one to his phone. The more he read, the tighter his expression became. Now you're out of excuses, aren't you? I snapped, turning my face away in anger, refusing to look at him. But I really didn't know. Of course you didn't. At least you pretend you didn't. Watching other people get jealous and fight over you must have been pretty satisfying, huh? I didn't. Stop trying to justify yourself. You've already shattered my heart. Wilson froze. He genuinely couldn't remember when he'd ever made such a promise. No wonder Olivia had been so furious she'd gone to such lengths just to get away from him. He raked his hands through his hair in frustration while I, worried about my mom, quietly crept over to eavesdrop by the corner wall. The battle between the two of them was no less dramatic. At first, Mr. Brown clearly had the upper hand. He grilled my mother. So what? You like young boys now? Is that it? You think I'm too old? What was the deal with those 4 male helpers, and why did you hide your relationship with Olivia? But as my mother's tears fell in long, broken streams, his voice gradually grew weaker. Less confident, more uncertain. He finally concluded that it must have been his fault for making her feel insecure, and even promised to change. He said he'd start working out seriously from now on. That's it? Mom hadn't even opened her mouth yet, and he'd already talked himself into forgiveness. But my mother had no intention of stopping there. Seizing the moment, she began settling accounts over the white moonlight woman with Mr. Brown. He froze, taking a long while to process what she meant. So, you left home because of this? My mother sniffled softly. Of course. She forced me to step aside. She even said I was nothing but a pretty vase meant to charm people, that only an intellectual beauty like her was worthy of you. Boo-hoo. I'm so heartbroken. Mr. Brown was devastated. While comforting my mother, he angrily made a phone call. From this moment on, cut off all cooperation with that woman. Cancel the contracts. Immediately. But my mother still wouldn't let it go. All the romantic debts you racked up when you were young, you're making me pay for them now. I hate you. I hate you. She pounded his chest furiously, only for Mr. Brown to grab her small hands and coax her for ages. Still to no avail. In the end, he had to resort to his ultimate move, a bank transfer. As the misunderstanding between my mom and Mr. Brown was finally cleared up, the truth, that I was my mother's biological daughter, also came to light. Mr. Brown was, of course, overjoyed. He personally drove me home, arranged a bedroom for me right next to Wilson's, and even suggested changing my last name to Brown. Wilson flatly objected. I don't agree. Why didn't you ask for my opinion first? He was gripping the tablecloth on the living room table so hard it looked like he was about to tear it to shreds. Mr. Brown roared, Whether you agree or not is irrelevant. From now on, she is your younger sister. Then he pulled me forward and said, Hurry up, call him Big Brother. I obediently called out, Big Brother. Wilson's body stiffened. The color that had just returned to his face drained away instantly, leaving him pale. Is morality and ethics really something I can never escape? He said bitterly. If none of you care about how I feel, then fine. I'll just leave. Anyway, in this family, I'm the only unnecessary one. As he brushed past me, his deep eyes were shrouded in mist. Olivia Harper, I'm really leaving. I raised my hand and smacked him on the butt. Take care on your way out, big brother. His ears instantly turned bright red. Fine, you've got guts. Wilson stayed away for 3 days, then quietly came back. He slammed his ID card onto the dining table with a dry thud that startled everyone. Mr. Brown picked it up, took a look, and his eyes widened. Wilson, you changed your last name? Wilson snatched it back casually. Wasn't that what you forced me into? You get to enjoy your perfect life of pleasure while pushing me to live like a monk. You're really devoted in your role as a father, aren't you? Mr. Brown's brain churned for a long moment. Finally, with a reminder from my mom, he shifted his gaze toward me. You two. Wilson shot him a glance, completely uninterested in responding. But didn't you keep saying you wanted to kill him? Mr. Brown blurted out. Then, as if he suddenly realized something, Mr. Brown flushed red and hurriedly shut his mouth. That night, Wilson knocked on my bedroom door. I had just finished showering, my hair still dripping wet. From outside came his irresistibly charming voice. Little sister, it's your big brother. Hurry up and open the door for me. Early the next morning, Wilson rushed me straight to City Hall. He was frantic beyond belief. All because the night before, I had brought up that 2-year promise again. But just as the official seal was stamped onto the red marriage booklet, a sudden spark flashed through my mind, as if I remembered something. It was a chilly autumn afternoon. While Wilson was sleeping soundly, I had secretly taken his phone and sent messages of comfort to several girls whose confessions he had rejected. It's not that I don't like you. I just have difficulties I can't talk about. If you're willing to wait for me for 2 years, then after 2 years we can rekindle our fate. I did that only because the day before, he had mocked me, saying that even 2 years later, I still wouldn't have a boyfriend. So I decided I'd give him a whole bunch of girlfriends. 2 years later. With tears welling up, I stuffed the marriage certificate into my bag and swore to let that secret rot forever in my stomach. After getting married, my relationship with my mother-in-law was incredibly harmonious. We often went shopping, ate out, watched movies together, and spent money that would last several lifetimes. Occasionally, though, one of us would sigh and say, I wonder how those 4 unfortunate boys are doing now. At that moment, our husbands would immediately appear and shoot us a warning look. Tsk. For the sake of these 2 fish, we ended up losing an entire pond of fish. The end. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. So you can get a partner soon, too.